What's going on, guys? Matt here, back again with another video. Episode 2 of the Market Watch series, where I go through the sports card market and see where the cards have moved based on news or moments. Trying to keep this as weekly as possible using market moves to track all the data. And keep in mind, this is being recorded 48 hours before release on Wednesday, the 9th of June, Australia time. So right before the Clippers-Jazz game, so any key moments that happen after this will be missed. But before we start, smash the like button and hit subscribe if you're enjoying the sports card content. And let's just get straight into it. So the first player that we're going to run through today that I think should be looked at is Julius Randle. So someone who was quite disappointing in the playoffs, in all honesty. He had a great regular season, leading the Knicks, who have one of the biggest fan bases in the world, and a lot of hype surrounding him. So yeah, as you guys can see, in the last 7 days, Julius Randle, I only have his Prism up. Because his Prism year is a bit more low pop, he actually doesn't have that many graded cards. So he actually does have some PSA 10 Prism cards, but nothing that has sold in the last few days. So we're just going to be looking at his Prism Raw card here. And as you can see, in the last 7 days, it is down 42%. So as you can see, the combination of the disappointment with Randle's play, as well as the Knicks leaving the playoffs, has basically caused his Prism to drop. And then we can even put that to the last 180 days. And yeah, if you were one of the people that bought in at the start of the season, anticipating that Randle would have a great season, then you would have made big money. But as you kind of scale back down to 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, 14, and then obviously to the last 7 days, that's where you see that massive drop off. So unfortunately not a great one for Randle, but as you can see, with the last this is the last 180 days, his Prism Raw was at $4 to $5 around December. So if you got in that price, great. But as you can see, it reached a high sale of $76. I'm not too sure if that's a one-off sale or if that's something that's was a bit more consistent, but as you can see, it's more around that $48 to $45 range over there. And then yeah, people anticipating he'd have a great playoffs, and yeah, around that $30 range, and then just completely dropping. And as you can see, it's around that $13 range now. So Julius Randle was one that was quite disappointing. Who knows if the Knicks add a few pieces around him and, you know, make him that focal point of the team with RJ Barrett. But I think that was a good one to kind of just look over and see how his card prices were affected by his disappointing play in the playoffs. So second one I want to look at is Julio Jones. So Julio Jones was recently traded to the Tennessee Titans. So Tennessee Titans are a solid football team. They've got Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. They also have AJ Brown, Derrick Henry. So great offense down there. People were anticipating that Julio Jones was going to be leaving the team for a while. The Atlanta Falcons didn't really do too well last season. They also have Calvin Ridley in the team as well. Yeah, I think there were rumors going around because Atlanta did draft Julio Jones, but at his age, being on a rebuilding team, is that really the right situation? Probably not. But as you can see, the trade only really happened in the last few days, and his card's down 10% overall. These are his cards. So specifically, the Topps Chrome was up 1%, rookie, and then yeah, the Topps base and the PSA 9 were down. Even the PSA 10 were down. So low pop on that. I'm pretty sure there'd be a high pop, but people aren't grading the Topps paper cards as much in football. But I think the reason why I think this card has gone down is if you actually move to the last 30 days, it actually was up 19%. So I think the rumors of Julio Jones potentially being traded were around that time as well. So people were already selling the rumor, and then when the news actually happened, nothing's really changed. If anything, has gone down. So I think that was one to note as well with Julio Jones. And you know, if you guys think that's going to be a great buy for the next season, wide receivers at that age are a little bit more riskier. I think I'd look at AJ Brown probably a bit more. And then yeah, Julio, maybe he's one of the best wide receivers in the game. So if you're looking long term, maybe in terms of the Hall of Fame. But yeah, that's something that you guys should weigh up if you want to buy into that. So yeah, that's his. This is his Topps Chrome base Raw. 6 months ago, yeah. So 180 days. So, sorry, 3 months ago. It was at $15 US. And as you can see, upward trend there, and finishing currently at $24. But rumors were around, I'd say, this period over here, and as you can see, prices were around $51 to $20. So slowly scaled up, but nothing really too major to note there. So moving on to the next player, and it's LeBron James. So as you guys would have seen, LeBron and the Lakers were knocked out by the Phoenix Suns. Nothing really against to LeBron. It's more so AD got injured. Was playing with a strained groin. I don't know how you can come back from a strained groin that quickly and then, expect to move laterally at the pace that they do at the NBA without aggravating, which is what he did. And LeBron to really carry that team was a bit of a big call there. But the Lakers were trending down throughout towards the end of the season. So yeah, as you can see, last 7 days down 5%. But as you go further on, 11, 24, 34, and then last 90 days, 44% down for LeBron James. So personally, I don't think he's the GOAT, so I'm not going to go into that debate. I do think MJ is a little bit better, but if you're really believing in LeBron long term, why not just buy the dip? Honestly, like he's the second best player in my opinion in the league. So if you're wanting to hold on to something long term, a little bit more safer, buying at a 44% discount on a player that some do regard as a GOAT, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 50-50 split in terms of what people who people think is a GOAT. I think that's a great buy right there. But yeah, last 7 days, the card that I had up here was the LeBron top scorer in PSA 10. So I just want to note something with this card, and it's that people a few months ago were saying modern sports is in a bubble and all this sort of stuff, and invest in your LeBrons, your MJs, your Kobe's, because they're the ones that should be going up. And I didn't really buy into it. I actually put out a video on this saying it was around the February period, but people were saying this sort of stuff and saying LeBron and MJ and all this sort of stuff. And look, you can see the high point here is what's the high point here? High point here is around 44,000. Yep, just under 45,000. So 44,000 for the Topps Chrome PSA 10. And then look at that drop off. Like if you bought at that absolute peak, I generally do feel sorry for you, because that's come down more than half. That's down to 14,000 now. And this is just evidence showing that no matter who you invest in, LeBron, Ja Morant, Luka Doncic, they all have their dips as well. Like it doesn't matter if they're LeBron James or Kobe Bryant or Luka Doncic, they're all going to have their dips as well. It just comes in cycles, really. And yeah, I think I kind of laugh because I was seeing it a lot on Facebook that people were saying, "Oh, yeah, just invest in LeBron. Those are the only things that go up long term." And I get that, but short term, I still think modern is a great play. But to think that LeBron can't dip or go down in time is, I think it's a bit of a weird call. But as well as that, I do know one of my friends, I don't know if he watches this or if he's watching this right now, but he did sell at this peak. And yeah, that's like I said, a big drop off for whoever bought that. I do feel sorry for them. But if you want to buy LeBron long term at a PSA 10 for 16 grand US, I don't mind the pop count at 2,000. I don't know if it's the card to be going for. Probably be going for something a bit more numbered, but it is an iconic card. It's the card for LeBron James that everyone wants. Compared to a Luka Doncic Prism, it is like a 10th to a 15th of the population, so not a bad one. And in a PSA 10, at least it doesn't have the gem mint, the gem percentage of the Luka Doncic Prism. So not a bad one there that I don't mind at all. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. So the last one I do want to look at is Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that's his Prism PSA 10. So we'll go to the 7 days first. I know you've seen the last 365 days, but last 7 days, it's down 2%. So as of the day of recording this, Giannis is down 2-0 to the Brooklyn Nets. The second game, Milwaukee were blown out by 40 plus. They haven't been really it hasn't really been the best thing to watch as a Milwaukee fan. I'm not a Milwaukee fan, but it hasn't been the best thing to watch if you're a Milwaukee investor, really. But the last 7 days down 2%. But I think this is the big one here that I looked at, and I was one of the things when I was starting to really get into the investing last year that I really noted. And the last 365 days, most players that you would look at the last 365 days, they would actually be up, because in June. This is where it sort of started to really take off. It was around May, but June, I'd say, and July were the ones where it started to really take off. But Giannis is actually down 21% over the last 365 days, and you'd be struggling. I'll actually see and test this out because... So LeBron James down the last 365 days, up 24%. Even if you go to Julius Randle, who I'm sure will be quite similar, he's up 700%. So that's it's a bit obvious there. But the thing with Giannis being down 21%, he was super hyped last year. I think other than Kawhi, it would have been Giannis as being the number one most hyped player. And it was one of the early things I learned was not to buy into hype, no matter how much you feel like you're going to miss out on the boat. And with Giannis last year, people were predicting, yes, he'd win the second MVP and then he'd win a championship, but he's going to come off, I don't know how many years in a row it's been now for the Milwaukee Bucks, but potentially another early playoff exit. And I never really justified the price here, as you can see. It reached $7,300 US for a Prism-based PSA 10. I never understood that, why it reached that price, and as you can see, it's trending down, but it's just fallen largely, and right now, it's currently going for $2,000 US, so if you bought at that high point, you're down, was that $5,300 US, but it was just something I really want to note, that most players, especially in the NBA, when you look at their prices in the last 365 days, most would be up. And I think the only people that would be down possibly would be Kawhi, Giannis. Can't really think of any more than that. Maybe AD as well. AD would be another one. But those are the three players I think would be down. And I reckon you'd be hard-pressed to really find anyone that's gone down over the last 365 days. So that was another thing I wanted to note there in this analysis. But another thing I wanted to add from last week's video, or into last week's video as well, was... basically, who are the biggest market risers and market fallers throughout the last 7 days? And I think with market movers, you can see that perfectly. So I have a bit of a quick scroll through, and you guys can see and maybe decipher in your own brain like why these players have gone down. But as you can see, with the last 7 days, JJ Watt's the biggest loser, down at 60%. I don't really understand why. Maybe there's a few auctions. I mean, there's only 10 sales, so maybe a few that just went way under comps. But CJ McCollum probably a bit warranted there with his play in the Portland series. Damian Lillard did really carry that team. Chris Middleton hasn't been playing as well compared to previous years. Dante DiVincenzo out for the playoffs with his injury. Randall, as I just spoke about, has come down. Terrence Mann. I don't really know too much about other sports other than the NFL. So Ayuk, Altuve I know is baseball, so it's a bit different. Bagley's makes a bit of sense. Aaron Donald, I mean, that's someone who's potentially going to make the Hall of Fame as a defensive end. Great player. Potentially going to win the Super Bowl this year with the Rams looking really great. De'Aaron Fox out of the playoffs right now. I'll just scroll this down a bit more. You can see a bit more. There we go. So, Steve Nash. And then we've got more modern players who aren't in the playoffs. Halliburton, Lewis Jr., Tillman, Clark, Siakam, Roger Federer, one of the GOATs. Kevin Durant's down. RJ Barrett's down, so Giannis, as we just noted there. Lillard's down. Embiid, who's currently in the playoffs right now, so OG Anunoby. And then, so that's the top 100 players that have gone down over the last 7 days. And then we go to the biggest risers over the last 7 days. We have Julian Edelman. That's a bit of a weird one. But again, look at the volume of sales, because when you got 7 sales, you might have one auction that goes way overs, or even like a sale price that goes way overs, and it doesn't really make too much sense. But Jordan Clarkson's one that I saw before. I was quite surprised by that. Quickly as well, another surprising one. Stewart as well. Quickly's, with 67 sales, that's a good number to really base it off. Knocked out of the playoffs. I actually can't remember what his stats were like, but I mean, I know it was more Derrick Rose, if anything. But Jay-Z, Nico Mannion, AJ Dillon. I know AJ Dillon has posted a few of him really buying his own cards, so maybe these are some comps of his own cards, of his own purchasing, really. Mikal Bridges, who's still in with the Phoenix Suns. Not really too much basketball here. You've got Jared Stidham, which is a bit of a weird one. I don't know why you want to be buying Jared Stidham with Mac Jones and Cam Newton there. Gary Trent, Toronto, a bit of a weird one. Weston McKennie, I know he had a great game for the USA team in soccer. If we keep going, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Sabonis. So it's good to see some other... I know I just said that there weren't too many modern basketball players here, but it's good to see some players in the green, and they're not your 2 to 3% sort of increases, but you're getting your 10% again, which is good. So we're starting to hopefully see a bit of a floor of what, or a level out of where these prices stop falling. Sadiq Bey, again, another player who didn't make the playoffs. Terry McLaurin, Culver, Diallo. So, yeah, Hazy Okpala finally getting a bit of a bump there. But, yeah, those are the top 100 rises for the week. But that's it for today's video. I think we'll do this sort of weekly again. Next week's we'll probably look at players who have been knocked out again or who are playing quite well in the playoffs. And if there's any suggestions that you guys want me to look at in terms of players that you think might have had a bit of a rise or a fall in the last 7 days, let me know in the comments, and I might even add it in as well. And if I know a bit about the player, I might even add some analysis. But that's it for today's video. I appreciate it if you've made it to the end. Smash the like button and hit subscribe if you're enjoying the sports card content. And I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.